نحمدو و نصلی علی رسول الکریم اما بعد فاعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم ربی اشرح لی صدری یسر لی امری واحلل عقدۃ من لسانی یفقهوا قولی وإذا مرضت فهو یشفین وإذا مرضت فهو یشفین وإذا مرضت فهو یشفین اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی آل محمد کما صلیت علی ابراہیم وعلی آل ابراہیم انک حمید مجید اللہم بارک علی محمد وعلی آل محمد کما بارکت علی ابراہیم وعلی آل ابراہیم انک حمید مجید. السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.
وعلیکم السلام ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.
I request the viewers and the audience rather, and the viewers of the Deen in of the Mazratul Akhirah YouTube channel, in this session wherein we read the book of Sufi Healing by Sheikh Hakim Moinuddin Chishti, we would be beginning chapter 4. میں خیر مقدم کرتا ہوں حاضرین اور ناظرین کا، اور ان سے درخواست کرتا ہوں کہ دین مزرۃ الآخرہ کے اس ویڈیو کو شیئر کرے اور اس چینل کو سبسکرائب کرے تاکہ آئندہ آنے والے اپلوڈ ہونے والے ویڈیوز کو آپ دیکھ سکیں، اور ہمارے دوسرے چینل دین ان دکنی اردو چینل پر بھی ایک نظر ڈالیں. Food and Health, 4th chapter. As with all other chapters till date, we have seen there is either a quote, a verse from the Quran, or a hadith mentioned in the beginning. Here we have a hadith from Sahih Muslim Sharif. The stomach is the home of disease. Diet is the main medicine. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, Sahih Muslim. The worldly life is one of the stages of the journey to Allah. اگر یہ جملہ مسلمان کے سمجھ میں آ گیا تو لائف میں پرائرٹیز اپ سائڈ ڈاؤن نہیں رہیں گے. پرسوٹس، کس کے پیچھے بھاگنا ہے، کس کے پیچھے کتنی کوشش محنت کرنا ہے، کہاں کتنا وقت لگانا ہے، کسے کس کی اہمیت کتنی دینا ہے، اور کس چیز پر سیکریفائس کرنا ہے. یہ کنسیپٹ بہت ایسے کلیئر ہو جائے گا جیسے 2 + 2 4، اگر یہ جملہ سمجھ میں آیا تو. The worldly life is one of the stages of the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the body is the vehicle for this journey. I was just telling you a couple of hours back that the body is a vehicle. As such, it behooves the traveler to maintain the body in optimum condition so that the diversions of discomfort and pain do not distract one from concentration upon the goal. What is the goal? The wedding with the beloved. Visal. Digestion is the process of taking in nutrients through the mouth and then refining those elements in the body. When it is said that the stomach is the home of disease, this means that diseases arise when this digestion process becomes unbalanced. Diet is the main medicine is taken to mean that we should first use foods themselves to rebalance and rebuild the digestive process. The foods are used as vehicles for conveying certain healing formulas, both herbal and non-physical, to the body. The foods are used as vehicles for conveying certain healing formulas, both herbal and non-physical, to the body. The possible exception to this general rule occurs when the body and its organs have been damaged so severely that there remains no regenerative power to build an organ or bodily system. You getting it right? If you don't understand something, just raise your hand or make a gesture. Any other. In such cases, surgery or other radical modes might be the treatment of choice. However, if the principles of health are followed throughout the life, from earliest childhood onward, one need have no fear of falling ill then being struck by lightning. Indeed, I have known quite a few men and women, mainly residing in the East, who have never had a day of illness in their lives. पंखा एक कम करो. Okay. This seems something unheard.
Yes.
Last statement. Not पंखा कम करो.
East.
हाँ, East. Okay. Indeed, I have known quite a few men and women, mainly residing in the East, who have never had a day of illness in their lives. They had never had so much as a headache and never visited a doctor or a hospital. Perhaps health is the best defined as that state in which one never needs to be aware of the body. If you are not aware of the body, you are fit and fine. If your body starts talking to you, it means you have illness. In other words, a healthy person receives no signals of pain, disturbances, or discomfort, all of which signify some kind of imbalance in the body. Nonetheless, if we recall the pathways of soul's evolution originating in the station of egotism, we know that these imbalances have developed in many people. Let us review the process of digestion so as to determine how and why imbalances occur. So let us first visit digestion. One characteristic of Sufi sheikhs that seems to predominate over all others is that they are extremely hospitable, mehman nawazi. They are extremely hospitable and capable of offering some of the most delicious and satisfying meals imaginable. Sufi sheikhs. बनाते हैं क्योंकि वो that is one of the major inputs that goes into your body. Okay. Many stories about the sheikhs revolve around some aspect of food, not only intake but also abstinence. किसी खास खाने से बचना, abstinence. Once I was visiting near Balkh, Afghanistan, and wanted to go and sit with a sheikh I heard of, a descendant of Hazrat Maulana Rumi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Okay. The Imam, prayer leader, bracket में for the benefit of the West for whom the book has been written. The Imam of the main mosque at Balkh gave me directions to the old Sheikh's Khanka in the village of Israq, about 15 kilometers from Balkh. After a most interesting journey to the village, I found the Sheikh standing in the doorway as though he had been expecting me. Once inside, I saw a group of old dervishes sitting huddled in a circle about to commence the noon meal. Darwish यहाँ बैठे थे. ख्वाजा, दरवेश, कुतुब, औलिया. Once inside, I saw a group of old dervishes sitting huddled in a circle about to commence the noon meal. Huddle is getting together, close by. Okay. The Sheikh invited me to join them, and I sat down. In a few minutes, a large wooden bowl was brought and placed before the Sheikh. There was one wooden spoon in the bowl. The Sheikh took a portion for himself, replaced the spoon, and handed the serving bowl to the man seated on his right. After a dozen men had their turns, the bowl came to me. I took a spoonful of a cucumber and yogurt soup, which was unbelievingly delicious despite its simplicity. In all my memories, I cannot recall any meal being better than that soup shared with a handful of dervishes perched atop the world. Afghanistan, okay, highland, perched atop the world. One of the great Chishti sheikhs, Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, kept a half dozen of his murids with him for more than 7 years, and all the while prevented them from eating to their fill. Paid bhar ke khana, to their fill. He prevented them from eating to their fill. Frequently they were on the edge of starvation. One day a disheveled beggar arrived at the door and broke an earthen bowl of flour, flour, atta, before the eyes of the starving dervishes. From that day forth, Hazrat Nizamuddin provided the most magnificent feast for the whole city of Delhi up till the end of his life.
तो इतना सा जो आटा लिया था उससे पूरे दिल्ली को खाना खिलाया जब तक.
No, coinciding with that incident, till his Visal.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Why are sheikhs so involved in providing food to their followers? First of all, it is a good service to feed the hungry if they are genuinely in need. But even more important, the sheikhs have certain knowledge of the effects of food on the body and the stages of the soul's evolution, and so they can frequently benefit the students and the sick by the choice of food served at meals. The serving of food must be conceived of on the broadest possible scale. ब्रॉडेस्ट पॉसिबल स्केल पर उसे तस्वुर करो, सिर्फ खाया ताकत मिली ख़त्म हो गया नहीं. द सर्विंग ऑफ फूड मस्ट बी कंसीव्ड ऑफ on the broadest possible scale. By this I mean that the person preparing the food, be it mother, father, servant or sheikh, must take into account all of the factors relevant to the season or time of the year, the time of the day, the climate, altitude, distance from the sea, any prevalent diseases or viruses, unusual migration of insects, and so forth. People who live close to nature are able to observe all of these factors and many others as well. They have a connection with the nature, so they observe. We are more connected, or rather totally connected, to the web and the electronic media, and we are disconnected entirely from the nature, so no question of observing. It is through the electronic media that we come to know there is a locust swarm coming in. There may be a few locusts around your building, but you don't peep out of the window and see that. You need an internet to tell you what is happening around. Okay, coming back to the book. The conception and intention brought to the preparation of a meal are the most important things that bear on food. In the United States, it seems that not only do people seldom consciously think about the food in this way, but they really do not even take the time to sit down and eat properly, preferring to have a paper wrapped clod slapped into their hands as they drive by a window. Okay. In my family, my wife, Iman, and I are constantly conferring with each other about what foods ought to be included in the menu. She will inform me what small things are going on with our children's health or what particular food are coming onto the market by season. We make adjustments according to the situation. For example, it is very common notion in the East that milk and fish should never be consumed together. Biochemical research has shown that milk and fish both have high concentration of particular amino acid. When they are eaten together, the concentration is so great that it may cause allergic reactions. Another important consideration is that fruits and vegetables at the beginning of the growing season, have a healing quality, while those at the end of the growing season can produce disease. This is confirmed with the apples, for example, which are very tart and astringent early in the growing season, but after the freeze, the sugar content soars and can easily cause excessive mucus buildup, flus, colds, and the like may result. Attention must be given to the selection and buying of foods. Where are you going to buy your food products? Where do they come from? Are they treated with chemicals? If so, what chemicals? Most food should be obtained from the local in which you reside, because they can okay most food should be obtained from the local in which you reside. Always buy onions and potatoes grown locally or within 1 day's journey, because 1 day it doesn't pertain to by flight, okay, or by a speeding train like Rajdhani. Always buy onions and potatoes grown locally or within 1 day's journey, because they contain the cure and antidote for all of the little viruses, bugs, and special bacteria strains that occur in your region. One should not forego onions from one's own neighborhood in favor of those tucked in from 1,000 miles away. Of course, if you live in an area where potatoes and onions are not grown at all, then you generally should not eat those particular foods, because nature hasn't grown it in your place. It is nature. It is, you are not supposed to eat it given the climatic conditions. Eskimos seldom, if ever, eat bananas.
No, they don't.
Okay. People who enter a supermarket are often pleased by the sight of the bonanza of foods, a virtual cornucopia. Ekta. Yet almost all of the foods including fresh vegetables and fruits, have been severely altered with chemical additives and treatments. They only look beautiful, a nice spread, colorful. It may be marvelous that you can obtain Egyptian mangoes, Bolivian pomegranates, and Mexican bananas at your corner grocery, but that does not necessarily mean they will sustain you properly. It may entice your tongue, but it will, in your language, screw up your body because they are not locally grown. Moreover, they are uh, treated with chemicals, additives, preservatives, stabilizers. Conventional advice about food selection emphasizes consuming the main food groups daily. Main food groups, certain main food groups that you need to consume daily. Some people refine the concept somewhat and suggest choosing whole grains, fresh fruits, and vegetables in season, and so forth. Offer Others offer analysis of vitamin, mineral, and nutrient content of the food as the key to eating for health. The Sufis view the matter somewhat differently. Just as they perceive the soul or essence of the body as the most important, so too do they seek the essence of food as the most important element. Essence doesn't mean smell, scent. Okay, we'll come to that. What is essence? We are almost about to come to that. Let us assume for the moment that we have selected the correct foods and have the best intentions in regard to feeding our family and friends. The next stage is the actual cooking of the food. I have said many times that the most important hospital in the world is your own kitchen, because it is here that the essence of the food is extracted and health gained or lost. If the food is being prepared correctly, taking sufficient time for each stage, the first thing that occurs in the kitchen is the most delightful explosion of scents. पहली तुम एक चीज़ निकाले बाहर, तुम ना खुशबू आती है. कोतमीर निकालो, तुम ना खुशबू आई. प्याज काटो, तुम ना खुशबू आई. मसाले का डब्बा खोलो, खुशबू आई. Scent. If the food is being prepared correctly, taking sufficient time for each stage, the first thing that occurs in the kitchen is the most delightful explosion of scents. When onions are heated in olive oil, for example, the volatile oil and essences are driven off into the air. When you add spices such as cinnamon, ginger, cardamom, and similar aromatic spices, anyone who comes into the house and gets a whiff of these wonderful scents is immediately uplifted. The matter of scents is important, and indeed many today are becoming interested in the essences of floral substances, including what we generally call spices, and their effect on health. आजकल ये बहुत नया फैड चले हुए. The body responds to all of these smells in various ways. As the nose perceives certain odors of cooking, information is delivered to the internal organs that a meal is being readied. The stomach, gallbladder, liver, colon, thyroid gland, and other endocrine glands all respond in their own ways. Moreover, the essence of oils driven off by the heating can themselves alter the temperament of internal organs and thus affect health greatly. At the very least, cooking fragrances are responsible for altering the body to conclude the prior meal's digestion. मील डाइजेस्ट होने के पहले ही उनको कंडीशन में ला को छोड़ देते. तुम्हारा कुकिंग, तुम्हारे सेंट्स और स्मेल्स एक अच्छी या बुरी. When people come into the dining room, only moments before eating and thus are deprived of the intake of scents prior to the meal or even throughout the day, some of the most important initial stages of digestion are lost. The cook, the food is not cooked in front of you, or you don't get the smell of the food. Okay, so this is the first stage of digestion. The odor, the scent, the aroma of the food being prepared enters into your nostrils and sends messages to stomach, gallbladder, liver, colon, that is the intestines, thyroid gland, and other endocrine glands. Glands are those glands whose secretions are put into the bloodstream and they affect the functioning in a very big complex way of the various organs involved. So that triggers off even before you see the food, when you just smell the food. So what happens when you go to a restaurant? You just order and you or home deliveries. Just imagine. You lose, okay? When people come into the dining room only moments before eating and are thus deprived of the intake of scents prior to the meal or even throughout the day, some of the most important initial stages of digestion are lost. In fact, the process of digestion actually begins at the time of the mental conception of a meal. These scented vapors not only affect the bodily functions, including the skin, but also have a beneficial influence on the eyes. Onions which make you cry when you cut them are the best example of this. Many injurious toxins are built up as a normal result of the thinking and emotional life. Many injurious toxins are built up as a normal result of the thinking and emotional life, particularly since many people think that crying is somewhat unmanly or weak. The tendency to release superfluous matters through the eyes by crying is suppressed. During cooking, the vapors of the onions as well as other spices encourage elimination through the eyes. When onions are cut in the kitchen, it is surely not a mournful matter. माता मनाने वाला mournful. When I cook, I start at noon. To me, preparing meals for others is one of the most enjoyable and wonderful things a human can do. Cooking is healing in its essence. I have one dish made of basmati rice with chopped pistachios, almonds, raisins, and tiny carrots silvered into pieces the size and shape of toothpicks. I need about 3 dozen large carrots to make this dish for 8 or 10 people. I always sit down with a sharp knife and spend an hour or more at this task of slicing until a huge pile of carrot slivers is sitting before me. One day, someone helping in the kitchen saw me doing this and informed me, I have a great idea. Here, put these carrots in the food processor and the job will be done in less than a minute. I thanked my assistant for the suggestion and then explained that the reason I preferred doing the job by hand was that with each slice I made a little prayer that the food be a healing influence for the person who eats it. So, the thought of desiring wellness for people also needs to be added to the foods that you prepare for them. We certainly can tell the difference between food eaten in a restaurant and food prepared properly in the home. Too often, the people who work in public eating establishments have no concern whatsoever for the food they serve, food which almost always is prepared by machines. In fact, many people having jobs in restaurants are angry and disgusted that they have to work there in the first place. The mental vibrations of such people inevitably work their way into the food. Let us now assume that we have the best food prepared according to the correct methods and are ready to put it into our mouths. Even before we put the food into the mouth, we have to think for a second. Where does this food come from and what is our purpose in consuming it? For the Sufi, the eating of food is a time of fellowship, a celebration of life, and a rededication of life to the highest ideals of human existence. Before eating, the Sufi says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. O my Lord, I will eat this food only to be a better servant of yours. Use this food to uplift me and uplift all of your humanity. Ameen. The reason for eating is not simply to derive pleasure. It is to maintain the body, which is the vehicle for conveyance of the soul and the means by which we improve and give strength and gracefulness to the soul. Only after applying such an invocation to the food do we put it into our mouths, inshallah. The refinement or digestion of food requires from 1 to 8 hours, depending upon the food. Science has delved into the biochemical structures of the food and the body and derived some facts and theories that purport to explain what goes on during digestion. The most important concept relating to human physical health is centered on the notion conveyed by two Persian words, sardi and garmi, meaning hot and cold. I'll read the statement again, the sentence. The most important concept relating to human physical health is centered on the notions conveyed by two Persian words, sardi and garmi, meaning hot and cold. Before explaining this concept fully, let me say that the entire process of digestion should be thought of as one of heating or cooking the nutrient substances. There is a Persian word, pukhta, which means cooking, but also refers to what the body does in breaking down food into its composite nutrients. Pukhta means that something is cooked and ready to serve. For example, one knows that a curry is pukhta when the ghee or oil is floating lightly, simmering and glittering on the top of the sauce. Until then, it is not ready to serve. It is not fully cooked. There is a moment of ripeness to everything. We can easily see when a fruit is unripe and we would not eat it until it is ripe. The gross cooking of food leads to a moment of ripeness, and the body itself cooks the food down until it is also ripened and ready to assimilate into the bloodstreams or tissues or enter into other chemical interactions. In other words, something is ripe when it is at the optimum moment of growth or refinement. In the process of foods by the body, a series of digestion occur, beginning with the action of enzymes in the mouth. This action creates heat, slight though it may be. To this heat is added the heat of friction caused by the grinding of the food by the teeth. After the food is swallowed into the stomach, another cooking occurs, the heat of hydrochloric acid. Each of these heatings changes the nature of the food. If one lacks the proper level of the enzymes in the mouth, or fails to chew the food sufficiently, or if there is a hydrochloric acid deficiency, then the digestion will be impaired from the start. When the digestion in the stomach is finished, the food is semi-fluid mass called chyme, chyme. Exiting from the stomach, the chyme travels through the small intestine, where further enzymes act upon it. Then it arrives at the site of the liver. Eastern and Western medicines have taken virtually irreconcilable views of digestion from this point onwards. Western science tries to identify each component of nutrients, vitamins, amino acids, enzymes, caloric value, proteins, fats, and so forth. Eastern medicine feels such an effort is by and large useless. This is so because each liver cell contains more than 1000 enzymes. Or it should be said rather that Western pathologists have acknowledged that more than 1000 enzymes exist in each liver cell, of which they know specifically how only about 24 actually work in the body. Out of thousands of enzymes of the liver cell, the current science has a knowledge of only 24 enzymes, how they act on the body, and yet they claim to be the master and reject alternate or so-called other pathies and science, medical sciences. That is arrogance and haughtiness. In fact, there may be billions of enzymes in each liver cell, because thousands of enzymes in one liver cell is also found out by pathologists. In fact, there may be billions of enzymes in each liver cell. This is not known or unknown as yet. In any case, to base one's theories on somewhat less than 3% of total possibilities is to rely on mere guesswork. Eastern medicine takes a much more interesting view of the digestive process. A view that can be understood by anyone, even young children, and that provides the basic framework for the selection of food to maintain or regain health quickly and easily. These concepts are consistent with all systems of medicines in the world: Chinese, Ayurvedic, Hippocratic, Galenic, Arabic, and Hebraic, Hebrew. In other words, all of the medical and health systems of the world have agreed with these concepts for thousands of years, except Western biochemical medicine. The key to, here comes the last paragraph of the chapter 4. The key to healthful eating habits is in understanding two notions: the 4 bodily essences and the eating and cooling effects of food. The key to healthful eating habits is in understanding two notions, two ideas, two theories, notions: the 4 bodily essences, safra, balgam, khushki, nami, and all that, okay, and the heating and cooling effects of the food, sardi and garmi. These concepts are so important to human health that the next chapter is devoted to them. It's here that we end our chapter, the 3rd chapter, which was titled Food and Health. And inshallah in our next session we would commence with the 5th chapter, Akhlat, titled Akhlat, the 4 essences of the body. صدق اللہ العظیم، صدق رسول نبی الکریم، آمنت باللہ رسولی والحمد للہ رب العالمین، وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينِ۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وعلی آل محمد کما صلیت علی ابراہیم وعلی آل ابراہیم انک حمید مجید۔ اللہم بارک علی محمد وعلی آل محمد کما بارکت علی ابراہیم وعلی آل ابراہیم انک حمید مجید۔ ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم وتب علینا انک انت التواب الرحیم۔ وصلی اللہ تعالی علی خیر خلق محمد وعلی آلہ وصحبہ وازواجہ وذریاتہ وآل بیتہ وآل طاعتہ وباب انبیاء والصدیق والشہداء والصدیق والشہداء والصدیق والشہداء والمؤمنین والمؤمنات والمسلمین والمسلمات احیاء منهم والاموات اجمعین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین۔ سبحان ربک رب العزۃ عما یصفون وسلام علی المرسلین والحمد للہ رب العالمین، آمین ثم آمین برحمتک یا ارحم الراحمین۔ حق لا الہ الا اللہ محمد رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔ السلام علیکم رحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ۔